Today's topic, everything I know about board game media production, I learned from selling out. Welcome to Table Scraps, short discussions about board, card, and tabletop gaming, submitted by the viewing audience and discussed with the viewing audience. Hey there everyone! Hi and welcome to another episode of Table Scraps, the live streaming show where I, your host, Chaz Marler, discuss a topic about tabletop, board, and card gaming with the live streaming YouTube chat. And not only are we discussing board games with the chat, but the question for today's episode, as usual, comes directly from the live streaming YouTube chat. And today's question comes from viewer Trevin. Trevin says, "Is sponsored content okay? Does a media outlet always have to clearly identify sponsored content? Is this selling out or buying in? Do we trust sponsored people less than those who aren't? And should we? Should creators have separate sections for sponsored content, or is it okay to mix in with regular content?" This idea, full disclosure, this idea is in response to the recent sponsored content proponent-component episodes masquerading as the component proponent. All right, Trevin, very interesting question, and one that is very important to me because I am coming at this, obviously, from the YouTube media maker point of view. And so I am actually very genuinely curious to find out what you guys think. Because like I've said before, and it's true, none of this works. Not only this live chat Table Scraps episode, but the YouTube channel in general, it doesn't work if it's just one guy blabbing out content into a camera. So I want to know what's working and what's not working when it comes to sponsored content. Now, I don't think sponsored content in and of itself is the crux of Trevin's topic. Trevin is talking more about sponsored content masquerading as unbiased, spontaneous content. And I can see that. Now let's talk about the component proponent episodes that are sponsored by Top Shelf Gamer. Because here's how these work. So the component proponent is a series that I started because one of the things I love to do is upgrade the components in games. You know, upgrading cardboard money into little metal coins or stuff like that, or the little wooden meeples or cubes in the little plastic figures, and finding different ways to just upgrade the components. Sometimes, you know, sometimes upgrades that make a lot of sense. Sometimes upgrades that are just ridiculous and over the top. It's something that I always enjoy. The sponsor, Top Shelf Gamer, who is in those videos, we say, hey, a lot of the upgrades in this video are sponsored in part by Top Shelf Gamer. So, because Top Shelf Gamer is an online store that sells a lot of component upgrades for board games. That's what their business model is. That's what they do. So they're a really good fit for being a sponsor for the component proponent and the channel in general. And so then I, with them already as a sponsor of the channel, came to them and said, hey, I have this idea for this new kind of niche for the component proponent. Why don't we do this? Since the business entity, Top Shelf Gamer, which is a sponsor of the channel in the first place, is going a little bit above and beyond to do some specific things to help specifically for those component proponent episodes, I feel it would be unfair not to give them an extra shout out at the beginning of those episodes. And even in doing so, I'm worried about something I see and experience. I think it's part of this question is based on that, is there is like a catch-22. There's a double-edged sword. Some viewers, I believe, will be turned off by that, saying, oh, this is just a promotional video for Top Shelf Gamer. Your sponsor, you sold out to your sponsor. But if the media maker goes in the opposite direction and doesn't say anything, well, then you run into the problem of, oh, the video's done. This was sponsored content. You tricked me. And how do you win? It can lead to the content creator feeling like they can't win. I do other videos that sometimes I still worry, have I said enough? Is this, obvious what we're doing here? So I don't know. And I think I'm going to continue to not know. And I think it's something to really experiment with and continue to be engaged with your audience about and get the feedback about. Which we have the perfect opportunity to do right now. So let me turn over to the YouTube chat and let's take a dozen or so comments on this and see where the conversation goes from here. So let's jump right into this with Aaron, who posts, "Sponsored content is the reality of our entertainment industry, but it absolutely must be labeled as such, or it is a dishonest use of one's platform and or an exploitation of the audience." Fair enough. Counter question to you, Aaron, or anyone else to elaborate on this. You mentioned it absolutely must be labeled as such. To what extent is the general consensus that it should be labeled? Is it a line in the video's description? Is it having a introductory frame title that says that before the following is sponsored content? Yeah. I'm wondering how different everyone's point of view is, but I do think it is important to vet everyone's points of view out. Kabuki mentions sponsored content should always be disclosed. Easy answer. Absolutely agree, but takes us right back to the counter question for Aaron. Always disclosed. At what level of disclosure, though? What level of disclosure is overdoing it? And what level of disclosure is the absolute bare minimum that's you disclosed it, but really, let me know in the comments below. Derailer says, sponsored content should be outlined in the video and the video description. Okay, there are some concrete kind of, guidelines there, and I think that that's fair. And I'm hoping that that is being done to the acceptable level of everyone. But let's continue on here with another comment from Pith, who says, "I don't mind sponsored content as long as the reviewer is honest about it and still gives their honest opinion on it." And that, Pith, is something I think is very important. Paid content should not include the broadcaster's opinion on it. If you produce something that has an opinion, it shouldn't be paid for. If you produce something that is just, hey, I'm going to tell you about this. Here's an instructional. Here's what's in the box. Here is just how the game works. And it has no opinion put into it, then I think that is totally opens the door for being sponsored, financed, paid content. I think that point where you have the person's opinion, that is a very dangerous line to cross when it comes to sponsored content. Let me know if you agree or disagree about that. Christian joins us to say, "I absolutely agree that sponsored content has to be disclosed at the start of the content, so I, as a user, can then decide if that content is worthy of my time." Okay, totally fair enough. I don't think there's anything really to elaborate in response to that one. I think that, like I said, fair enough. So let me get another comment here. Peter says, "At least in the US, you're legally required to indicate that you received a product for free if reviewing it. While some can maintain integrity, I know poor reviews can get people disinvited." I've heard that rule that the FTC requires a disclosure statement. I wonder how realistic it is for the FTC to actually, enforce that. I'm not saying, hey, we can ignore it. I'm just saying I'm wondering if the burden of proof falls to the reviewer or to the person making the complaint or the FTC or whatever. Pith's Attic has a comment, which I actually wasn't going to read at first, but I'm going to include. He says, "Mainstream media already lies enough to us." So at first I was like, okay, yeah, that's kind of a facetious, flippant comment there. But there is more substance to this than I thought. I actually was just watching another video about building YouTube channels and stuff. And it was talking about how the micro broadcaster is a segment in marketing that is growing exponentially because these micro influencers are seen as having more integrity. So if micro influencers, people with little YouTube channels and such, start losing that integrity, it could be a house of cards that just implodes on itself and it could ruin it for a lot of people. So I think it's something that as someone with a YouTube channel, what you do not only affects your channel, but will affect how other channels are perceived as well. Julius mentions, "Do you feel that sponsorship actually affects how you would do reviews or presentations? You personally?" That is an excellent question. And I've touched on this already a little bit in that sponsorship, I do think would affect how I do reviews, because if it is sponsored in the form of monetary compensation, then it can't be a review. You can't have an opinion about it. Do I feel that sponsorship affects how I do just presentations? Actually, no, not a lot, because me personally, with the component proponent, the presentations in those sponsored episodes are the same presentations I would give anyway. Other content, let's just talk about some of the other content. Like this episode, I don't think sponsorship really would affect this episode very much because this is more of a topic and discussion. And then there's stuff like Thrift Sift, and really with the personality that Thrift Sift episodes have, I don't think we're in danger of anyone coming along wanting to sponsor a Thrift Sift episode anytime soon. I think each individual type of segment a channel does has to answer that question individually. That was a really good question there, Julius. Thank you. Kabuki mentions, think back to the 90s when infomercials ruled late night television. They loved to try and play like they were just a genuine talk show, and today's topic just happens to be about selling this product. It came across as so phony. You know, that's a really good point, and that's something that you definitely can fall into. I will say there is one thing kind of related to this that's always kind of made me chuckle a little bit. I got back into board games really strong in 2012, and the Dice Tower was my gateway into it, watching a lot of Tom's reviews. Back then it was mostly 99% just Tom doing reviews of games on the Dice Tower channel. But what always struck me as funny about that is a board game review to one person could be something interested that we tune in and subscribe to see, but to many other people, they would see it as an infomercial. Whether it's sponsored or not, you're kind of watching an infomercial. I would be watching these for entertainment value to learn more about games and find new stuff, but at the same time, I'm thinking, in a way, I'm just watching a bunch of ads, but I'm enjoying it. So it's always struck me as this weird mental place that we get into sometimes. Am I the only person who sees that? Feel free to reprimand me and tell me that I'm wrong in this respect. I don't mind if you do. I'm really genuinely curious to see if anyone else sees it that way or if it's just me. Next one from Peter, who says, no problem with sponsored content if it's disclosed though. People have to make money somehow, and it overtakes the value otherwise provided, then you'll probably lose viewers. That is really good to hear, Peter. Like I said, I've actually forced myself to start talking about sponsorship and stuff more often. I'm glad to hear that, at least in your opinion, Peter, there's no problem with sponsored content as long as there is full disclosure about it being sponsored content. Let's continue on with a couple more people, see if this consensus continues. With Ryan, who posts, if I trust the content creator, then I don't care who pays them. I think it's possible to be paid and be objective. If it has everything to do with the character of the content creator. Ryan, that is so much how I feel about this. And also, though, it can be sometimes, it almost feel like a vicious circle. But I absolutely appreciate and agree with that the character, the integrity of the content creator is something that I think plays a big part of this. They themselves, because all of this, YouTube, it's not about the content of the video so much. It's not about the products being shown. It's about the person that you're tuning in to spend a little bit of your time with each day. And if you can't trust that person that you're trying to establish a connection with, you're not going to tune in and watch their channel no matter what they're talking about. So Ryan, I think that what you said there is an enormous part of this. So thank you for posting it. Gazensha joins us to post, how do we define sponsored content? Are review copies sponsored? Paid content over a week by several creators can work, content depending, but disclosure is always key. I think this is a very good topic to discuss, and perhaps in more detail in another episode. But I think that review copies as sponsored content is a place where I think viewers and content creators diverge. I think that, and no fault, neither one of us is right in this respect. But I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think a lot of viewers tend to say, yeah, if you got a review copy of this game, it's going to skew your opinion about it. Well, I know a lot of content creators have the opposite opinion of saying, receiving a review copy of a game, if that's the only compensation you receive for your review, well, if it takes you several hours to learn the game, play the game, create a script of what you're going to say, record it, edit it, do all your annotations and stuff, and then post it, you can literally have dozens or more hours put into creating this content. And if you got a $50 game that took you 10 hours to do, well, I'll let you do the math of how much you're actually making per hour in terms of getting a game as compensation. All I know about it is that if you are creating a YouTube channel with the goal of getting free games, you're going to learn really quick that it is not worth it if that is your objective, because you are stealing from yourself with the amount of time and effort it takes to put together any sort of quality content. So let's go to the last statement here by Halo, who says, I agree with Kabuki Kid. It makes the industry more transparent. There will be people that don't believe that you're not sponsored because you're so hyped about a product and not about another one. And you know what, Halo, that is absolutely right. And I think that's a good place to wrap up this conversation as well, because I think it goes back to the previous comment about the strength and the quality of the broadcaster's character. If someone is really hyped about one game and not about another, and if they don't come across as being genuinely excited and having a reason for what they're saying, it doesn't matter if it's sponsored content or not, they've lost that core connection with their audience. I have, next to my computer where I do my editing and all of my work and stuff, I have a little thing I wrote, my 3 rules for Pair of Dice Paradise that I wrote. I have tacked up on a corkboard right next to me. And my 3 rules are: speak sincerely, emote fearlessly, and edit ruthlessly. And I feel if a YouTuber does that, if they speak sincerely and the truth and aren't afraid to wear their heart on their sleeves and really just let you know, hey, I'm excited about this, I'm really going to let you know why, those are the key concepts that I think are what will make this channel at least succeed or fail. So, and I think everything that we've talked about how to approach sponsored content, how to approach the strength of character of the person producing the content, I think all that ties together into those 3 rules. So, what about you guys? Do you have any rules for what's important to you when you watch a YouTuber? What are the fundamental laws that a YouTuber, especially a board game media content producer, must follow in order for you to buy in to their strength of character and subscribe to them and follow what they do and believe that they have integrity? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And not just there. Let's continue this conversation over on the Pair of Dice Paradise Facebook page at facebook.com/pairofdiceparadise and on Twitter where we are at Dice Paradise. Also, again, because in a way, this is even sponsored content. This content is sponsored directly by viewers like you. And like I said, I always still feel anxious saying it, but it is a fundamental truth of trying to run a channel in this way. Content like this is made possible directly by financial contributions of viewers just like you who have been supporting the Pair of Dice Paradise 5th year fundraiser over on our Pod Pledge fundraising campaign. Thank you for your help. It does help, and it is appreciated, and now it's disclosed. So, until the next time that we can share a topic of discussion together, I have been Chaz Marler, who, along with the YouTube live streaming chat, have been serving up some table scraps. Talk to you again soon. Today's topic, everything that I learned about board game media production. I can't say the word learn twice. See, that didn't take long to mess that one up. Let's continue on with Pith, who says, how much do the microwave crab people you pay to keep their... How much do the microwave crab people pay you to keep their existence hidden? I can't say, but let's continue on. Okay, more crab people. We're going to unfortunately skip the crab people's talk because it's a separate episode and it won't make sense to anyone. Do crab people sponsor board games? Okay.